December 1900. On a remote island chain off the Scottish coast, 3 lighthouse keepers vanished without a trace. No signs of struggle, no distress calls, just eerie silence. For over a century, people have wondered what really happened to those 3 men. The answer may be more disturbing than anyone thought possible. This is the story of the Flannan Isles lighthouse disappearances. A case so mysterious it's baffled experts and inspired dark theories for 125 years. Welcome to History Snob. In this video, we'll trace the haunting timeline of events leading to the disappearance of the 3 lighthouse keepers on a remote island, explore the theories ranging from natural disasters to supernatural forces, and reveal what experts now believe is the most plausible explanation. But be warned, this is not a story for the faint of heart. The Flannan Isles, also known as the Seven Hunters, are a group of uninhabited treacherous islands in the Outer Hebrides off the northwest coast of Scotland. With their rugged cliffs and violent seas, these islands were dangerous for sailors to navigate. This prompted the construction of a lighthouse in 1899. Perched on the desolate isle of Eilean Mor, the lighthouse was supposed to save lives, but 1 year after its completion, it became the centre of a mystery that haunted maritime history ever since. December 26, 1900. A delayed supply ship, the Hesperus, approaches the Flannan Isles lighthouse. The crew, accustomed to the isolation of lighthouse duty, expects to see signs of life. Perhaps a flag raised in greeting or smoke rising from the chimney, but as they draw near, they encounter nothing but unsettling stillness. There's no movement, no welcome, no indication that anyone is there at all. The lighthouse was manned by 3 keepers: James Ducat, the experienced principal keeper, Thomas Marshall, his second in command, and Donald MacArthur, a temporary replacement filling in for an ill colleague. Each man was seasoned, accustomed to harsh weather and the isolation of such postings. Their absence was not only troubling, it was unprecedented. Something was very, very wrong. The crew of the Hesperus decided to send Joseph Moore, the relief keeper, ashore to investigate. Moore was no stranger to the lighthouse, having worked alongside the missing men during previous rotations. As he approached the steep cliffs of Eilean Mor, he couldn't shake a deep sense of dread. Climbing the rugged path to the lighthouse, Moore was struck by the eerie silence. The island was usually alive with the sound of seabirds and crashing waves. On this day, it was unnaturally calm and quiet. When he reached the lighthouse door, his apprehension only grew. It was locked from the inside. Once he unlocked the door and went inside, Moore found a scene that was equal parts mundane and deeply alarming. Everything seemed normal at first glance. The beds were made, the kitchen tidy, but small chilling details soon emerged. A chair lay toppled at the table, as if someone had stood up in a hurry. Dinner plates sat out, untouched as if a meal had been interrupted, and most ominously, the clock on the wall had stopped. The keepers' oilskins, heavy coats essential for venturing out into poor weather, were all accounted for, except one. This suggested that at least one of the men had fled the lighthouse. But why would he have left? The weather had been stormy in the days prior. Moore searched every room of the lighthouse, calling out for the men. His voice echoed through the empty halls, but there was no reply. No sign of Ducat, Marshall, or MacArthur. They had vanished, leaving behind no explanation and trace. When Moore returned to the Hesperus to report his findings, the crew was stunned. The captain, unsure of what to make of the situation, sent a message to the Northern Lighthouse Board in Edinburgh. A dreadful accident has happened at Flannan. The 3 light keepers have disappeared. An investigation was launched immediately. The first step was to rule out any immediate explanations. Was it a robbery? Unlikely. There was no sign of forced entry, and the remote location made such a crime nearly impossible. A mutiny among the keepers? Possible, but there was no evidence of violence. As the investigation unfolded, the mystery only deepened. Officials began to examine the keepers' logbooks, hoping it would shed light on their final days. What they found was chilling. Cryptic entries described fierce storms, frayed nerves, and strange behaviour. These clues hinted at a psychological toll, but they stopped short of explaining the men's disappearance. It's important to remember the immense challenge of lighthouse life in 1900. Keepers were isolated for weeks at a time, living in cramped quarters with limited supplies and no mean of contacting the outside world. Add to this the consistent threat of storms, and the job required not just physical endurance, but immense mental resilience. The Flannan Isles lighthouse was particularly remote, perched on an island battered by unforgiving wind and waves. For the 3 men stationed there, the isolation could have been more than just lonely, it may have been overwhelming. But isolation alone doesn't explain their disappearance. Something happened on Eilean Moor, something that left no bodies, no definitive clues, and no answer. The logbook of the Flannan Isles lighthouse offered a cryptic glimpse into the final days of James Ducat, Thomas Marshall and Donald MacArthur. These entries, sparse yet foreboding, have become a focal point of speculation and interpretation. They hint at escalating tensions, eerie observations, and a growing sense of unease, making it an invaluable but chilling piece of evidence. The lighthouse logbook was primarily a tool for documenting the keeper's daily routines, weather conditions, and any usual occurrences. Most entries are typically mundane, detailing tasks like cleaning the lantern, maintaining equipment, and logging ships spotted in the distance. The final entries diverge sharply from this pattern. Let's break down what the log reveals. December 12th, 1900. Assistant Keeper Thomas Marshall records a violent storm striking the area. His entry notes, quote, "Storm bound, great damage to Lighton, Ducat irritable." The mention of Ducat's irritability suggests the psychological stress of maintaining the lighthouse was beginning to take its toll on the morale. The storm is described as unusually fierce, causing significant damage to the structure, which the men likely struggled to repair under harrowing conditions. December 13th, 1900. Marshall writes, "Storm still raging, MacArthur quiet. Strange to see him calm." Donald MacArthur, the temporary keeper, was known for his hot temper, appears uncharacteristically subdued. This detail has sparked much speculation, with some theorists suggesting it indicates MacArthur was in shock or perhaps unnerved by something unrecorded. Alternatively, this calmness could have been a psychological defense mechanism in response to prolonged stress. December 14th, 1900. The storm persists, but Marshall notes an improvement in the weather. Quote, "Storm ends, sea calm, God is over all." This final log entry, brief and cryptic, is particularly haunting. The phrase, "God is over all," has led to various interpretations. Some see it as simple expression of relief, while others read it as a sign of resignation or a premonition of doom. This is the last documented account from the keepers. These entries suggest the men endured days of relentless storms and perhaps growing unease. But what happened after that calm day on December 15th? The logbook remains a tantalising piece of evidence, offering just enough detail to hint at the keepers' state of mind without fully explaining their fate. Its brevity, combined with the eerie silence that followed, has made it one of the most compelling aspects of the Flannan Isles mystery, proof of how even the smallest fragments of history can echo through time. So let's explore some of those possible explanations. Over the years, countless theories have been proposed. Let's start with the most mundane and work our way to the strange and the sinister. We'll finish with what we think actually happened. Theory 1. A rogue wave. The leading theory is that the rogue wave, a freakishly large and powerful wave, swept the men into sea. These waves are rare but not unheard of in the North Atlantic, where strong winds and currents can combine to create walls of water over 30 feet high. It's believed the men may have ventured outside to secure a supply box or repair storm damage. 2 could have been swept away while working, and the 3rd may have rushed out to help, only to meet the same fate. This theory explains their disappearance, but it leaves one question unanswered. Why was the lighthouse door locked from the inside? Theory 2. Madness and violence. Another possibility is that the isolation and stress led to madness or even murder. Donald MacArthur, known for his fiery temper, could have snapped during an argument. Some speculate he killed the others before throwing himself into the sea in despair. Long-term isolation in harsh conditions was known to affect the mental health of keepers. However, there were no signs of violence in the lighthouse, no blood nor even the sign of a struggle. Only one chair knocked over to the floor. Theory 3. The supernatural. One of the most enduring supernatural explanations involves the Blue Men of the Minch, mythological sea creatures said to haunt the waters between the Outer Hebrides and mainland Scotland. These beings, often described as half human, half fish, are believed to be the harbingers of disaster, luring sailors into their doom by creating violent storms or capsizing ships. According to legend, they challenge those they encounter to recite rhymes, dragging anyone who fails into the depths. Supporters of this theory suggest the Blue Men could have emerged during the fierce storm recorded in the lighthouse logbook. Some believe the keepers may have ventured outside to address damage to the lighthouse or secure equipment, only to be drawn into the sea by these cunning spirits. The strange logbook entry noting MacArthur's unusual calm, strange to see him calm as it said, has even been interpreted as evidence as a trance-like state, possibly induced by the Blue Men's powers. The Flannan Isles themselves have a history steeped in superstition. Before the construction of the lighthouse, the Isles were considered sacred ground, home to a chapel dedicated to St. Flannan, a 7th century Irish bishop. The ruins of the chapel still stand on Eilean Moor, the islands where the lighthouse sits. For centuries, local shepherds avoid spending the night there, believing the islands were inhabited by spirits or protected by a divine curse. Some speculate that the construction of the lighthouse angered these ancient spirits, leading to the disappearance of its keepers. Proponents of this theory point to the eerie calm described in the final log entry, "God is over all," as a possible acknowledgement of a supernatural presence. The abrupt silence that follows suggests the keepers may have fallen victim to the wrath of these unseen forces. Reports of ghostly phenomena on the Flannan Isles add another layer of mystery. Sailors have long spoken of strange, flickering lights seen dancing over the islands. One theory poses that the keepers saw such lights during the storms and left the safety of the lighthouse to investigate. Perhaps they believed a ship was in distress or were drawn out by an unearthly force. Once outside, they may have encountered an inexplicable event, one that claimed their lives and left no trace. Finally, some argue that the sea itself holds a supernatural allure. In maritime folklore, the ocean is often personified as a sentient, almost malevolent force capable of claiming those who dare defy it. Could the keepers have succumbed to the call of the sea, lured into the waves by an irresistible pull? This idea is bolstered by the lighthouse's isolated, eerie setting, where the unrelenting sound of crashing waves could wear away even the strongest resolve. While the theories of madness and supernatural are compelling, the simplest explanation remains the most likely: a tragic accident. The evidence points to a freak wave overwhelming the keepers. The missing oilskins, the damage outside, and the stopped clock on the wall suggests that they were all caught off guard while working during the storm. The locked door may have been a precaution taken earlier in the day. This explanation doesn't have the thrill of a ghost story, but it reminds us of the harsh reality of life on the edge of the world. Nature, in all its power, can be more terrifying than any legend. Today, the lighthouse stands automated, no longer requiring keepers to stay there for weeks on end. But the mystery of 1900 lingers, a chilling tale of isolation, danger, and the sea's unforgiving nature. So what do you think? Was it a tragic accident? A case of madness, or something beyond our understanding? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to History Snob for more explorations of the world's most haunting mysteries.